This podcast is brought to you by the Association for Coaching, an international professional body which is advancing coaching in business and society worldwide. I'm your host, Rob Lawrence. In this new series, I talk to coaches, leaders and experts who share their passion for this incredible profession and their knowledge of how to do marketing well. Our ambition is to contribute to the development of the coaching profession and to bring you some new ideas, insights and strategies so you can create an impact with your coaching and marketing. My guest today is a successful business consultant and someone who has worked with some of the world's most successful and well-known coaches, including Chet Holmes, Eben Pagan, Jay Abraham, Scott Holman, and Tony Robbins. He is an entrepreneur, coach, mentor, and master business strategist. So I'd like to introduce you today to Donald Stojack. Donald, welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here today, Rob. Thanks for inviting me.
It's great to have you on, Donald. So let's get into the mindset of marketing today. That's what I'd like to treat our listener with.
Okay.
Let's begin perhaps by asking, what does marketing mean to you? How do you define marketing, Donald?
Yeah, that's a good question, Rob. I think early in my business career, I grabbed onto this thing called sales because I knew I needed more business. And for me at that time, we're talking in the 1970s and 80s, it was sales. There was a lot of sales gurus out there and sales leader. I didn't even know what the word marketing was. But I think it's that what marketing means is as I matured in business, I started to understand that there was something ahead of selling. Okay. And so many people did not want to be sold, but they certainly did want to buy. So how do we get them to that position of buying? So I think for a business person, no matter what your level of business, marketing is getting the right people positioned to want to buy whatever you're selling. It's just simple as that. That's marketing.
I love that. That's great. Gives us a real sort of sense of where marketing fits into the sort of business mindset, I suppose. So what do you believe is at the essence of creating good marketing or doing good marketing?
Yeah, another good question. It's not probably what most people train on out there. Okay, everybody's trying to figure out their features and their benefits, what is their unique selling proposition, what is their list of qualities or anything like that, or their curriculum vitae or their resume. It's none of that. As I work with clients big and small, what I have them do is I have them take whatever they think they are selling, whether it's a product or a service, and absolutely put that on the shelf. And this is the hardest thing for entrepreneurs to do, is to take their baby, whatever it is, okay? If they're a dentist, putting that skill set of a dentist. If they're a life coach, putting that skill as a life coach or whatever practice that they've got, put that on the shelf, okay? It's not that. Really getting down to the essence is understanding the market. And before you can understand the market, you've got to understand, who do you think the market is? And it's not everybody. I don't care what. Now, you may think, well, everybody needs what I've got. I understand, but it's not that. It's somebody. It's really picking out a segment and understanding that segment of the market. Okay, so let's say you are a dentist, okay, or a life coach. That's not it. It's you're a dentist for who? I'm a dentist for four-legged antelopes or whatever, okay? Or if I'm a life coach, I'm a life coach for women in their mid-40s who never had enough kids, right? And they just, they had 2 or 3 and they wanted 12. I'm a life coach for that woman, picking out a who. And then the next step is really understanding that who. And you have to get into their world and talk with them and listen to them. And this is where what I call copy and paste marketing does not work. It's not filling in the blanks. It's not looking at what somebody else is doing and copying it or modeling it. You have to understand your target market intimately, and you have to know them better than they know themselves. Okay? If your target is a 45-year-old professional woman that likes doing yoga on the weekends with YouTube videos and reads romance novels and likes a nice cappuccino, with her gluten-free biscuit, you've got to understand her better than she understands herself. And she's got to feel that. You have to know her words, her images, what her world is about. first and foremost. And you almost want to repeat back to them their experience. Because see, when people recognize their experience, say in your marketing message, that's when they're willing to listen to it. It's not when you jar them. It's kind of contrary to what you think it is. It's when they're comfortable. That feels like me. I'm attracted to it. Sometimes we don't even quite know what that is. My youngest daughter likes tie-dye. Okay. She sees, you see there, if understanding my daughter, she sees anything tie-dyed and she wants it. She doesn't care what it is. It's that simple. You want to sell my daughter something? Tie-dye it. But every market has that thing. That's what you're looking for.
That's great. You've given us a real insight there into ways we could approach marketing, but from a different point of view. Mm-hmm. So let's get into that a little bit deeper. And how do you become the person that is able to then be able to understand people that well? And then how do you find that out about people as well, in your experience?
It's what I call asking second level questions. Okay. And this is where a lot of research fails. I've been part of some major product movements in the marketplace where we had access to a lot of funding for marketing that could do that research. But even then it fails if you don't get on the ground and have the conversations. So the best marketing and when companies do really, really good marketing is when they embed people in the marketplace that are able to ask second level questions. Are surveys good? Absolutely. Is polling wonderful? Yes. But it never gets to the heart of it. It's like, where are you? Well, I'm here. Well, why are you there? How long have you been there? Where were you before? Where do you see yourself going from here? And depending on how they answer questions is asking a deeper question. Okay, where are you? I'm in Amsterdam. How long have you been there? I've been here 10 years. Where were you before? Well, I actually lived over in Utrecht before. And it was more of a college town. But I kind of got tired of that little, it's a nice town, but I craved the big city. Really? And why Amsterdam? Right? So now you're asking questions that go beyond a survey, that go beyond polling to really understand the marketplace and why it's there. Right? How long have you been in your profession? I've been in the profession 10 years. Really? What kind of changes have you seen in those 10 years? Right? And what did you do before that? And do you see yourself doing this for another 10 years? And where do you think the profession is going? See, now you're asking next level questions and you're listening for how they respond, their words, their sense of urgency, their sense of angst, right? Their sense of frustration or jubilation, any number of things that you're really trying to key into. Then you're going to start to find the answers. Now, you've got to have as many of those conversations as possible. Then people make the mistake of having one conversation and pivoting everything they're doing off of that. No, you've got to have a dozen, 2 dozen, 10 dozen. Now you've got real market intelligence and you can bust through it.
That's amazing. So we'll come back to the market intelligence because that sounds interesting and sort of learning more about that side of things. Mm-hmm. But what I was hearing there is pretty exciting, particularly for those that see themselves as coaches or those interested in coaching, because it sounds to me, Donald, like we're almost playing to their strengths here of listening and asking questions to get a deeper understanding of somebody. So in some respects, we as coaches or those interested in coaching, they could be using those questions to learn more about what it is that people perhaps need.
Yeah, it's powerful. And it's a natural segue to what they're going to do or offer, right? Because oftentimes, like if you go out in the marketplace and you do that, see, you don't have to pitch your coaching. Stop it. Okay. Don't pitch your coaching. Be interested in somebody. Okay. And really get to know them. And at some point they're going to turn to you and they're going to say, and what do you do? And you're going to say, funny you should ask that, okay? I help people just like you with that problem we've just talked about the last 20 minutes. And they're going to say, no way. They're going to say, yeah. Now, well, how do you do that? And then you're still not going to tell them you're coaching. I don't say, no, here's my coaching package. No, typically I would meet with you, say on a regular basis, once a week or whatever. And we're going to kind of go deeper on that. We're going to find a pathway to a result. And, oh, yeah, It's never mentioning anything else. It's just a conversation. It's truly being human. It's being authentic. Stop selling. Stop pitching. Stop presenting your packages. That's not what they want. They want a result. They want a validation that they're being heard. So listen to them.
And I guess through that process, what you're also cultivating there is the relationship. What is it that you look for when you feel you've got something? Perhaps you've identified a need that's being unmet in a market. What are the sort of things that maybe the sort of triggers that you look for? What sort of things do you let you know that there's potentially an untapped market here and there could be a good opportunity to offer some kind of service?
It usually stems from what they're really buying. Okay, it's like would everybody get something? It's not what you think they're buying. It's the result of that. And the two biggest things that people are really seeking out is something that improves their identity, or that attaches, that they equate with how they see themselves. So recognizing how people see themselves or how people want to be seen is huge. And it also falls close behind that, their reputation, right? It's like, think about even like where they shop. Are they seen shopping at the discount mark or at the trendy boutique? Okay. It's not what's in those places. It's where they identify being seen or want to be seen, type of a thing. And if you can identify that, okay, if somebody buys a widget or let's talk about life coaching, right? Do they want to identify as somebody that is smart enough to seek out good help, right? I mean, it's not like a shameful thing, right? It's almost like bragging rights. I've got a life coach. You see, where are they at in that realm? So I'm looking for what they're really looking for. What are they really buying? Okay, and sometimes it's time. Sometimes people they want to get there quicker. So maybe they could figure this out on their own. But if they engage with a mentor, with a coach, with a guide, they recognize that they can multiply their time by getting there faster, getting there quicker, getting there easier. They're looking for those kind of things. I think a lot of times people are really looking for more energy. And so if maybe whatever you're proposing for them, they see as giving them some kind of like a Superman power type of a thing, that stuff. So if you can find those things and attach them to what you're going to offer them, that's really the gold, because that's what people are really looking for.
That's a great insight. Thank you for that, Donald. And what's exciting about what you're sharing is that it sounds to me like a more accessible way for many coaches to be able to get a foot up on and with their marketing, recognizing that many of those interested in coaching and coaches themselves are stuck with that side of things. So I'm interested to know, the theme of this series is make time for your marketing. I'm curious from your point of view and from all of those that you work with, where do you generally, I would say, not just coaches, but where do people that you work with, where do you see them getting stuck with, quote, not doing their marketing?
So let's kind of do it in levels, okay? And I give a lot of credit to one of my mentors, Scott Hallman, for this, because he was brilliant at this. And I mean, Scott was incredible at this stuff. I mean, Tony Robbins flew Scott to Fiji Island for a week or so, I think, just to pick his brain on this stuff. So this is the goal. Right. Okay, you ready? You want to write this down. Okay? Here's step one. What do you need to do? So that's that to-do list. And I hate to-do lists, but let's say we all need to recognize what we need to do. Okay, but sometimes we can get so much into what we need to do that we're frozen. But we do need to start there. What do you need to do? Well, I need more clients. I need to get more clients. I need to do better marketing. I need to whatever. Okay? Next level. Okay? Now you need to do that. Now we need to pare it down to what can you do? So many people get stuck on what they need to do that they never really get to what they can do. So maybe now we need to cross some things out off that list and circle some things that we actually can do. Okay? Let's say if it's a website. Can you do that? Well, maybe you can't. I don't know. Or maybe you can. But be honest with yourself. What can you do? Okay? I can post on Facebook. Okay? Okay? I can talk to my neighbor. Okay? I can do that. Right? I can hand out a flyer. Right? I can direct message somebody on Instagram or whatever the platform, LinkedIn or whatever. Okay? What can you do? Okay? Now, we can't stop there because still we don't have it. The real critical mass comes from what will you do? Okay? And this is where the rubber meets the road. That's as we say in the United States. So I don't know if okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. We got a lot of roads over here in the United States and a lot of tires. Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. What will you do? Okay, so all of those things that you can do, what will you do? Now, sometimes that takes being accountable to somebody, right? Sometimes that just it comes down to you have to want it so bad that you will do it no matter what comes up, type of a thing. But it's right there. What will you do? Everything you need to do, and from that, everything that you have really identified that you can do, right? You've got the bandwidth to do it, or you've got the resources or the skill. What will you do? Be honest, and then do it.
It's amazing. Some of the best advice seems so simple on the surface, and I guess for many that almost sounds intuitive. But I also know, and from my own experience, that third step, what will you do? You will do it, but then you just get stuck not quite taking the action. I agree with you. Accountability is a good one. But what do you think's really going on there? Is it fear? Is it something else? What's really stopping people from doing the things that they ought to be doing?
It comes down to emotion. Okay. And it's interesting, working alongside Tony Robbins was really a shift for me. I'd heard of Tony, but when we partnered with Tony to build out his business mastery program, we were embedded, okay, up and close. It's one thing to see Tony from a distance. It's another thing to be in a small room with the guy, okay? And I'm going to tell you, he's fairly consistent, okay, in process.
Right.
It's understanding emotion. And so for yourself, you have to decide what you really want. And I think where we fail in life, where we fail in business, is we really don't take time to understand what we really want, okay? So that whatever we're doing, what we really want is our reward. Okay. If we're building a coaching business, that's not what we really want. What do we really want? Do we really want to be backpacking out in the forest? Do we really want to be out on a boat, in the water? Do we want to be kayaking? Do we want to be riding a pony? Do we want to be eating the best seafood in the world? You have to know what you really want. What is that desire that is so intense, and you can smell it, you can touch it, you can feel it, that you will do whatever it takes to get there. We all have something. Okay, so if you really are honest with yourself, you'll find it. And it's different for everybody. You see, this is where, traditionally they'd have the advertisement with the fancy red sports car. Well, for some people that works, like a 25-year-old testosterone-driven male, yeah, maybe. But it's different for everybody, right? It's not the money. It's what that money means. If it's sitting and reading books to a young child, for some people, I'm a new grandfather, and just holding my granddaughter. To me, I'll do anything. I'll do anything to be in that position and to be that person in her life. That drives me. That gets me up in the morning. That makes me want to that makes me want to take care of myself. That makes me want to make sure that I eat better so that I live and enjoy my granddaughter. You've got to find that thing that no matter what. So it's emotion. It's not logic. It's emotion. Find what triggers you. Then the next thing is you've got to write that down. So don't just have a vague feeling of that. we know that people that have goals achieve more than they don't. Okay, so we know that. And research has played that out. Okay, so this isn't just, pseudoscience. I mean, science has shown us that. Now, science has also showed us that people that write their goals down achieve them at a much higher rate than people that don't. Okay, so if that's true, write your goals down over and over and over again. Get clarity on your goal, get clarity on your vision. Write it down, visualize it. I love, we always talk about the vision boards. I think those are very, very powerful. But the danger on creating a vision board is it's like a static thing. Okay? If you want something, you got to go and touch it continuously, right? If it's a new place to live and you can't quite afford it, go and visit it as much as possible, right? If it's some kind of a whatever, go find some way to be around it. Feel it, touch it, taste it. That's how you power through. That's how you get it done. That's what you're driving. That's why we're alive. You know what I mean? If you like fine food and fine restaurants and can't quite afford it, I don't know, go out and take your picture in front of the restaurant. Go to the restaurant. You can't afford to go through the front door. Someday I'd like to go to this 5-star Michelin restaurant. Great. Take a picture with it. You can't get there. I don't know. Find a picture of it. Put it in front of you. Read the menu. Go online and print the menu out and put it in front of you on your desk, if that's what it is for you, right? There's so many ways to engage with it. If it's traveling, join a Facebook group that travels to that location, right? They're out there. If it's Fiji or if it's Bali or I don't care where, whatever you like, or if it's some certain mountain range where the hiking is incredible, find it. Engage with it. Find people that have done it and talk to them. Make it real, make it tangible, and watch your life change.
So what I'm hearing there, Donald, this is about living and breathing your desires. Mm-hmm. This is about clarity, getting clear on what they are, feeling those emotions, but almost stoking those emotions on a daily basis by writing down those goals. And as coaches, we perhaps should know this stuff, or at least some of this stuff about goal setting and keeping those goals alive for ourselves, which is something that many of us do for our clients. Mm-hmm. So it's there. That's really insightful and also a great reminder, because I think, as I say, some of this guidance is actually relatively mm-hmm. simple, but how many of us can honestly put our hands up and say that we are doing that on a daily basis? And also, not just the writing down of goals, but I'm thinking about what you were saying or suggesting there, which I thought was a very sort of vivid vision, which is bringing those goals to mm-hmm. life and really sort of, getting close to them. Mm-hmm. With that in mind, you've worked with some exceptional marketeers mm-hmm. in the world, as well as exceptional coaches. And I'm kind of curious to know from your own experience what you see that separates them from everybody else. So the people that get amazing results versus those that get average results. Are there other things, rituals, approaches, mm-hmm. Habits, behaviors? What sort of thing have you seen some of those most successful do that others don't necessarily you see them doing?
The number one thing, it's almost counterintuitive. The number one thing is they're willing to fail over and over again. They're willing to look stupid. They're willing to make a mistake. They're not waiting for perfection. They are seeking mastery, but they take massive, imperfect action. Okay, and I tell you, as I still, on a daily basis, work with some of the best marketing minds anywhere, it still comes down to testing. It still comes down to trying it. Do we have all the answers? We absolutely do not, but we're willing to try. We're willing to test. We're willing to make a mistake, but we're willing to tweak it until we find it. And I think where people fail to reach that level is they're waiting to get it perfect before they ever do anything, right? They're waiting to get all of the questions answered until they take any action. So I relish getting more questions that I can't answer. And so I am not worried about having all of the answers. And the other issue is I don't want to be comfortable. I will tell you that those of us that achieve great heights, we're not seeking comfort. We've actually become comfortable being uncomfortable. we've made ourselves comfortable being uncomfortable.
So on the one hand, it's about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I guess that ties in with your earlier point, which is the going ahead and doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of like expecting perfect outcomes, expecting to have all the answers before we actually try something.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's definitely true for a lot of people that I've worked with, and certainly younger coaches too, who are perhaps unclear about what kind of coach they are and who their market is. It's almost that I can see the sort of chicken and egg scenario that we can end up in, which is we don't know who we are until we kind of put something out there and get some real world feedback. Is that what you're talking about in terms of this experimentation side of things?
I think too many times we worry about what somebody's going to think about us. Get over it. You know what I mean? There's people that are going to think you're nuts. That's great.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Where people think, boy, you look silly. Okay, great. I look silly. Dare to look silly. They look silly too. I mean, you got to look back. Okay, I look silly. You look silly. We all look silly. Have you looked in the mirror? I mean, we all look silly. We got these big noses on our heads and ears and funny hairdos. I mean, none of us are perfect. We're all, that asymmetrical perfect thing. It's not there. It's not there. And just like anymore, like we get on these Zoom calls or something, or we're on stage and it's like, oh my gosh, they might capture me with a funny expression. Well, everybody's captured with funny expressions. It's like, laugh at yourself. It's just what it is. Get over yourself.
That's the key message there. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Great. So I want to sort of tap into some of your other expertise now. So we're talking about marketing and talking about making time for your marketing. We've covered a little bit about the marketing side of things, but I'm curious now on the sort of time management side of things and how you see from your own experience too, people making effective use of their time, both on a daily basis and on a long-term basis. So I'm curious to what sort of approaches you see working really well. Obviously, people need to make time for their marketing. So
yes,
that's a case of making decisions, good decisions, I expect, and prioritizing things appropriately. So could you talk to us a little bit about some of that stuff?
Yeah, and that's really, really key, I think, to just about everything. I think a lot of us keep ourselves busy. Now, I don't think anybody has any trouble keeping themselves busy. Okay, we can do any number of things. Oh, I've got to get the dishes done before I do anything, or I've got to make my bed, or I've got to fold the laundry. I mean, just like, come on, there's all these mundane tasks. Do they need to be done? Absolutely. Okay, or I've got to clean off my desk, or I've got to empty my email box. Oh my gosh, just stop. Okay, it's sitting down and understanding what are the big rocks that really are going to make things move. Okay, let's get real. What is the big things? Okay, that's number one. And then the fine detail is not to have a to-do list. I know I talked about, what do you need to do? But ultimately, what I need to do is not make a list of what I need to do. Okay, what I need to do is really to very quickly identify what it is and schedule it. Okay, you got to go to your calendar. And I live and die by my calendar. And I schedule it. Okay, if I need to build a new website or have somebody build it for me, I schedule it. Okay, on Thursday, I'm going to figure this out. I got 45-minute block here. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out, maybe I've got to engage somebody to do it for me, or I've got to double down and figure out what WordPress means, you know what I mean? Or start, right? And schedule it. And then stick to that schedule. So it's about focus, number one. Okay, don't multitask, focus. This one thing, okay? The next thing is habit. Okay, develop habits. Okay, habits will multiply your time crazy, right? I mean, do you ever think about brushing your teeth? It's a habit, right? Or maybe it's not. I mean, we're going to have to talk, but, we do so many things as a habit, okay? It doesn't really take any time. But the time just goes. I mean, so many things. So create habits and get in a habit of creating better habits. So here, think about that. Get in the habit of creating better habits. And how do we do that? It's repetition, right? So say you're trying to master social media, but let's just pick one. Pick one of the major ones and say, I'm going to make it a habit of blocking the first 20 minutes of my marketing time for this one social media platform. That's my habit. And like every Monday, I've got a 20-minute block. Bam, it's there, right? Develop a habit of creating habits. Focus, habits, scheduling. Those are the things. Do the most important, the hardest things, the biggest things first. Okay? It's just that.
That ties in with something I was curious to sort of ask you earlier, which is, I know you talk about giving away value and offering great value. And certainly the younger coaches that I know of starting out in coaching, they struggle with the balance of giving away too much versus respecting their own time and making sure that they get that balance right. So I'm curious to learn from you, Donald, how do you strike that balance in terms of obviously putting value out there, giving people time, chemistry sessions and getting to know people and that kind of thing? How do you balance that off with actually creating a successful business, I suppose, or getting a coaching practice off the ground?
I typically give away my best stuff. It's counterintuitive, right? And there again, I pretty much have a waiting list of people that want to work with me. I mean, I literally could pull up a list of people that if I said, hey, I'm taking clients, they would jump on it. Okay. Now, how does that happen? As I was talking with a gentleman the other day, and we had like a 10-minute call. Okay. I had a 15-minute block of time, and he was 10 minutes into it. I mean, I could have signed him up on the spot because I found I listened to him for about 7 minutes. I really got into what he really needed, and I pinpointed it with laser focus, and I helped him solve the major problem in moments. And he just went like, whoa, he wasn't expecting that, right? It was like shock and awe. It's like, oh my gosh, I want more of that. And I could literally have signed him up as a long-term client, like right there in the spot, okay, at top dollar. It's like he wanted that, and he would have paid a premium for it, okay? So think about it that way. You cannot, if you want to get more, give more. You can never outgive a giver. The more you give, the more you'll get. And I give to a lot of people that can't afford what I do, right? I spread it around. Why not? I help people. If you help enough people, now that doesn't mean you're just going to give away all your services all the time. That's not what we're talking about, okay? That when you really, truly have a heart to help people, that at some point you got to ask for the sale. You got to ask for the business, okay? But you want to be seen as a giver. Move the free line. Because they're going to wonder if they're going to think, wow, if they're giving me that, what's behind the curtain? Right? And oftentimes it's really, there's nothing more behind the curtain other than the repetition of that great thing. Think about it. When I work with clients, I don't tell them a whole bunch of new stuff all the time. Usually it's the same stuff over and over again till they actually do it. It's just that simple, right? They just need to be guided step by step because they're human beings just like I am, just like you are. That's why they come to us. It's not for magical words or something like that. It's just a consistency. You know, it's getting them to what they will do.
Yeah. So coming back to what you were saying a moment ago in terms of focus, what has been your way of creating super laser focus? Because you were able to do it with that client there, as you described as an example. But you also mentioned it earlier, and I'm curious to sort of tap into that a little bit more to learn from you. How are you able to get focused on what you need to do, as well as giving people that exceptional sort of focus?
The first thing I do is I don't carry my phone with me everywhere I go. Okay. Yeah. I go for a walk in my woods. It's just me in the woods. There's no way, right? You can think, oh, that's a little scary to be without my phone. No, it's not. Try it. Okay. Less is more. I take time to do nothing. So I get clarity, I get focus by doing nothing. I schedule time in my day to do nothing. And during that time, I don't do anything. Sometimes I just sit in a chair out in my yard or on my deck or, depending on the time of year or whatever. I sit and do nothing. I just sit and gaze into nothingness, and I try to think of nothing. I clear my brain. You all know this. I mean, we know this, but do we really do it? Do we find that zone where we are peaceful? On Saturday, I went kayaking, right? I was out on the water. All I worried about was nothing, right? I worried about nothing, right? I had the afternoon out there, right? Just had to make sure I didn't get sunburned. That was about my biggest worry. And then, so it's clarity. It's cleaning your brain out. It's cleaning your desk out. If you struggle cleaning your desk off, just take everything off of it and throw it in a box and don't worry about it. You'd be surprised. Oh, I need this on my desk. You don't. Clean your desk off. Declutter stuff. Close up the tabs on your browsers. Stop it. Okay? Focus. Clean it up. Throw it away. Mental clutter, physical clutter, all of that. The more mental clutter, the more physical clutter, the lower your income. Think about that for a moment. The less mental clutter, the less physical clutter, the higher your income. You ever walked into a really nice home and seen it cluttered? You don't.
Yeah.
Throw it away. Give it away. Get rid of it. Stop thinking about it. Stop letting it weigh you down. People let physical things weigh them down. They let mental things weigh you down. Get rid of it. Like somebody says, I've got problems. I says, we all have problems. So what? You don't know the way we were all raised weird. Okay, so join the club. Let it go. Get rid of it. Stop holding on to it.
So this is about eliminating distraction, and it's decreasing the clutter mentally, physically. I can understand that. I mean, I was almost kind of feeling a little bit more freer just hearing you talk about that and then imagining other ways I could be decluttering myself. Actually, it's not about creating more focus necessarily. It's about eliminating the distractions or the things that get in the way of our focus. So it's a little bit like cleaning the lens.
That's exactly that, Rob.
Okay, so I want to ask this question. So imagine that we're able to schedule some time in the calendar and we're able to create that focus that you're describing there. What could be a really effective use of that time for someone trying to either re-engage or to start with their marketing that's probably got not a great deal of experience from a marketing perspective before?
Let's talk about Facebook. That's a big 800-pound gorilla in the closet here, right? Comment. Hit the like button. Do you know, some days I struggle. And if you got somebody that post something, or somebody even you don't know, just say like. Right? That's just simple. Don't think, I don't know what to say. Well, don't say anything. Just hit the like button. I mean, how easy is that? Okay? Get comfortable with that. Say comment. Awesome. Cool. Wow, I wish I was there. Oh, that looks good. Right? Is that important? It's crucial. Right? And then don't overthink it. Less is more. Here's a pretty flower. Hey, I went for a walk and I saw a pretty flower, took a picture. I'm sharing it. And you're thinking, oh, that's stupid. No, it's not. That's social media, right? I'm going to tell you, I've done that. I've had clients do that, and they engage, do something, right? We think, it's got to reflect my brand, or it's got to have some depth to it. It doesn't. Are you kidding? Do you know what the kind of stuff that goes viral is? Some of the most stupid, silly stuff. Just dare to be silly, to be real, whatever it is. Just do something, right? I've started engaging on Twitter recently because I hadn't used it for a number of years. I thought, why wasn't I? It's so easy, because it just like one sentence, like, isn't it a beautiful day, or whatever, or, my chickens lay eggs. Hit the Twitter button. I mean, don't overthink it. Just do something. And in time, other stuff will come. But if you're waiting for that massive insight before you ever post anything, forget it. Okay? You don't need that. But you need to do something. You need to, what will you do? What can you do? Do that. It's that.
That's great, Donald. That ties together a number of things that you've already pointed out for us today, which is in terms of what will you do, but also going back to what you were saying earlier about failing, and be willing to try something, be willing to experiment, give something a go, and starting there. For our more experienced coaches, and obviously the game has changed a lot in the last couple of decades or so from a marketing point of view. What are some of the big changes that you've seen in the last 20 years or so from a marketing point of view? Where do you see the bigger opportunities going forward from here? But also, I'm curious to know, what do you think are the fundamentals which are still just as important today as they always have been from a marketing point of view?
I think it's easier today than it's ever been. Okay, so when I first started coaching, I would say, I'm a coach. And they'd say, well, what sport? And I go, no, I'm a business coach. I said, well, the business has a sports team? I said, no, I coach the business. And it would have a hard time. Like, what are you even talking about, right? And nowadays, you say coach and go, oh, okay, what do you do? Life coach, spiritual coach, And so in a sense, it's easier. So some people thought, well, the market's flooded. Well, no, it's not. The need for coaches versus the number of coaches out there, there's still a great disparity. There's a huge opportunity. So I think the opportunity is bigger than it's ever been. Okay. I would say that the changes that I've seen, I think there's a lot better training for coaches. I think coaches can be very easily better trained, and you don't need to have some fancy certification to be trained. I mean, there's lots of trainings out there. The shift has been from obscurity to be more mainstream type of a thing and to be proud of. You don't have to hide the fact or something. It's almost a badge of honor. So just do it.
Great to hear there. So training's just as important, but the training today is much better. It's much more accessible, as are the tools.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing there. Donald, it's been really kind of you to share your time with us today. I'm sure our listener would love to reach out to you and get in touch to perhaps learn more about what it is that you offer and maybe even to tap your brains. Somebody who's a master at giving value, I know. Where's the best place for our listener to connect with you?
LinkedIn. Yeah, and if you're not on LinkedIn, you should be. Just connect with me on LinkedIn. I mean, honestly, go on there and you'll get a better feel of who I am. But also, too, say, hey, I heard you on the Talk with Rob, and I'll accept your connection request. Message me.
That's great. And that's Donald Stojack. That's Stojack, Donald Stojack. Mm-hmm. And you can find him on LinkedIn. Just before we close, Donald, have you got anything that you would add? What have I missed today? Is there any sort of final thoughts that you would share with our listener with regards to some of the stuff that we've covered today?
No. I think we've covered it. I would say go back at what we have covered. I would encourage you to listen to it again. Mm-hmm. Don't listen to it once. So what we've missed is emphasizing the repetition. Mm. So I don't read books. I gain mastery of books. So if I listen to a podcast, I don't just casually listen to it. I listen to it to have mastery of the content. And I listen to it again. I don't say, I'm going to listen to it someday. I listen to it again.
That's great. Well, Donald, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
Thanks for listening to another podcast by the Association for Coaching. I'm Rob Lawrence. For 20 years, the AC's purpose has been to inspire and champion coaching excellence, advance the coaching profession, and make a sustainable difference to individuals, organisations, and societies worldwide. To find out more about the Association for Coaching and our member benefits, follow us on LinkedIn or explore our website at associationforcoaching.com. You can keep up to date with our latest podcast episodes, enjoy the wealth of digital learning offerings, and gain insights from our Coaching Perspectives magazine.